Hey, what's good, LBK? This is Robert Jenkins coming to you with Season 3, Episode 131 of the FocusLBK show. Today, we're going to be talking about what is up with black culture, specifically black music and black art, black culture in general. What is up with it? Why does it seem like we're in decline? Why does it seem like it's not respected and timeless? Well, we're going to get into it on today's show. Stay tuned.
Get ready for news and views from Lubbock, Texas, USA. What's going on and real talk with people who move and do things. This is the Focus LBK Show with your host, Robert Jenkins.
Yeah, so I've been out and about today. I've got a film project coming up that's going to be related to a show or a lecture series at Texas Tech University on the life and times of Christopher B. Stubbs, the famous barbecue restaurateur and musician and friend to musicians here in Lubbock in the South Plains. So I'm getting ready to do some work on a film for that. And I was out today doing some scouting and lensing a few locations where we're going to shoot. Lensing meaning just setting up the camera and looking through it and seeing how it's going to look and thinking about the look and feel of the film. And I happened to go by 108 East Broadway, and I was looking at, that's the former site of Stubbs' barbecue restaurant, Christopher B. Stubbs' barbecue restaurants, well before my time, somewhat before my time. And anyway, when I was over there, really, I think I was feeling the spirit of Mr. Stubbs and the old school musicians that passed through there. And while I was there, gathering in those feelings and those vibrations, those spirits, being inspired, meaning to draw in the spirit, inspire, to breathe in, inspiration, inspire, spirit. While I was over there thinking about all this stuff and being surrounded, I got the statue of Mr. Stubbs right there holding up his plate of barbecue. And I started reading some of the things so there's plaques all around. I started reading some of those plaques and taking pictures of them and just thinking about really the film. And when I was out there, my mind flashed back to an old conversation that me and my brother Ray Cambrell, and I had, it was probably 2 or 3 years ago now, and we revisited that conversation several times. In that conversation, Ray was asking me, why does it seem like black music, specifically hip hop, is not respected? He used the example specifically of how if you're a white guy and you're a singer-songwriter, you can go down to the local coffee shop, and here in Lubbock, we're a haven for singer-songwriters. There's music everywhere in Lubbock. In fact, we're an accredited music-friendly city by the state of Texas. Why is it that a white guy who does that with a guitar and a harmonica and stuff, why is he respected in somebody who is honing his craft? He's an artist. He's an artistic soul. He's a poet. He's a writer, a songwriter. But then you have young guys that make hip-hop music or rap music, and they don't seem to get the same respect. And while I was over there looking at the former site of Stubbs Barbecue, and reflecting on things, and this question occurred to me, the answer was all around me. The first answer I saw was in a plaque that was on the ground, and I had heard about this. I've never went to Stubbs when it was open, but I heard about this. Everybody that reminisces about Stubbs mentions this. He had a sign up on the wall. Now, keep in mind, this is basically a juke joint. It's a barbecue joint. It's got a little stage in there, and tons of musicians come through and practice. They have the Sunday night jam over there. So really, Stubbs Barbecue was like a building block of Lubbock, Texas, becoming a music-friendly city designated by the state of Texas as such. Why is it that music is respected and revered and honored, but hip-hop is not? And here's the first reason, thing that I just noticed. I'd heard that Stubbs had a sign that said, there will be no loud talk or bad talk in this establishment. And when I was over there today, scouting the location, there's a little plaque on the ground that says that there will be no loud talk or bad talk in this establishment. As a matter of fact, it may not say in this establishment. It might just say there will be no loud talk or bad talk. So Picture this in your mind, a juke joint with rowdy West Texas boys in there playing the guitar and jamming to the jukebox in the corner. It's a rough and tumble bunch, I'm sure, and I'm sure you can hear all kind of stories, but the man didn't allow no loud talk and no bad talk in his establishment. Now think about anything else. Try to picture some other location in your mind right now. Can you think of another location? A regular juke joint location right now that has a sign up like that? I can't think of, I've never heard of such a thing outside of Stubbs Barbecue. So in other words, my question is, like I said, I never went there, but the question evolves, was it a family-friendly place or was it a juke joint? It seemed like it was a juke joint. But a little bit of everybody went through there, but I don't remember hearing anything about a lot of kids coming through there. So even though it might not have been a family-friendly place, it was nonetheless apparently family-friendly. He had a sign. He let you know up front. Ain't going to be no loud talk, ain't going to be no bad talk. And the man was 6'4", and he was a combat veteran of, I believe, Vietnam and Korea. Or Vietnam, definitely. Korea, maybe. So you knew when he said it wasn't going to be something, buddy, I'm telling you, it probably wasn't going to be none of that. You know what I'm saying? But that's one of the reasons I think right there, because when you listen to hip-hop music, rap music, whatever you want to call it, it is the subject matter, the delivery, the things that it places importance on, the cornerstones of hip-hop culture as it is manifested today in music are not at all family friendly. They are not at all timeless. They are not at all important enough to stand the test of time. So in other words, you went through Stubbs Barbecue. You had people in there writing songs and sing up on the stage, playing bands and stuff, cowboy and West Texas blues and honky tonk and all that. Joe Ely and them, cats like that. I listened to a little bit of their music, and their music seems to be centered around or focus on timeless themes: heartbreak, love, death, struggling to make it in life. These are things that are timeless. When you write songs about those items, those things, those parts of human experience, those are universal. That's one reason hip hop is not respected, I think, because we don't even talk about that kind of stuff. Or if we do, we talk about it from a perspective that is completely antithetical to building a society or maintaining families or anything like that. Half the subject matter of hip hop is illegal activity. The other half of it is illicit sexual activity. There's positive hip hop out there, but positive rap don't sell. Everybody know that. The stuff that people want to hear is vulgar and dirty and raunchy and talks about living that life, that street life. That's the stuff the kids want to hear about. So that's one reason hip hop doesn't stand the test of time. It's not respected. The subject matter is juvenile and outside the experience of adults who are actually struggling to do something in life. I was not too long ago, we saw the Houston Rodeo. I've been wanting to go down there. I've never been. But apparently this time that I didn't make it this year was a good time to miss it, because apparently they had just an outlandish train of raunchily dressed, scantily clad people, most of them black, apparently. I didn't go, but from the news coverage, it seems most of them was black, and nobody liked it. They interviewed black people, white people, Hispanic people. I saw on the news, watching the Houston news, everybody was upset with it. See, that's what I'm talking about. How is that going to last? How is that going to be respected when that kind of attitude and that kind of vulgarity goes along with seems to go hand in hand with the music you make? You're not making any kind of timeless art. Now, I'm a photographer and a videographer. And one of the things that I notice about so-called black photography, I look at a lot of photography magazines and stuff like that, and every time they have something about black folks, half the time it's LGBTQ. Now, I'm not saying anything is wrong with LGBTQ, with that whole lifestyle and culture. But what I'm saying is, it is yet another factor that is outside of the experience of the average person in this country who is married to the member of the opposite sex and trying to build a family. You may accept LGBTQ culture. You may not have a problem with it, but it's not something that you experience every day. And that, by definition, seems to suggest to me, for example, that it ain't going to last forever. It ain't going to be something that's widely respected in 100 years when the average person can't really identify with it. They might be cool with it, but it's just not something they live with. It's not something they do. It's not who they are. It's not who the average person is. Also, if you're too heavily focused in on racial issues, your stuff is not going to be universal. By definition, you're not looking at the broad spectrum of humanity. You're looking at the black experience or the white experience. You ever see anybody that focuses on the white experience? I can't recall that. I take pictures that document the white experience in America. Never heard that before. But you'll always hear people say, I take pictures that document, or I make pictures that document the black experience or the Hispanic experience, LGBTQ, whatever. These are niches, however you want to say it. These are subsets of ordinary reality that, by definition, the majority of people will look at and be like, okay, they might accept it, okay, whatever. But it ain't going to hit them because they have no experience in those realms. So is that another reason that so-called hip-hop and black art, black music doesn't seem to be respected? My brother was talking specifically about hip-hop music, rap music, really. But I mean, you can expand this out to a broader palette to the broader spectrum of art, artistic expression. See, in other words, it seems to me like if you want to make sure that you have impact with your art, you have to deal with those themes that are universal in human life: death, love, struggling, pain, include emotional pain or physical pain, estrangement, longing, worry. These are everybody, no matter what you are, you experience all those things. And when your artwork points toward those things and towards an understanding of those things and explores those themes, I think that's what lends itself to respect for that art form and immortality for the art. If you are avoiding treating the broader spectrum of human existence, and if you're zooming in on vulgar niches or hard to understand niches or niches that most people just don't really dwell in, it seems that by definition, you're not going to achieve any kind of impact or mortality, or immortality is what I'm trying to say. The other thing I noticed when I was over there at the Stubbs barbecue memorial site at 108 East Broadway is that there were some bricks on the ground. Looks like they once upon a time had a campaign where you could buy a brick. And so I'm sure y'all have heard about that before. You go up and pay for a brick in something that they're building to raise funds for the building or for the statue or the monument or whatever. When I was looking at the names at Stubbs Barbecue Monument or Memorial, and I don't know all of those families. I didn't really know any of the families, but the names didn't sound black. And you know how it is in Lubbock. Most black people, especially in my dad's day and time, less so today, but back through the 60s and 70s, everybody black knew each other in Lubbock or knew of each other, knew each other's families and went to school with each other's family because they went to school at either Dunbar for the most part and then Estacado. So it was Dunbar and Estacado where the majority of black people went to school. So all the families knew each other and knew each other from church and knew each other from living on the east side. So when I looked at those names on those bricks at the Stubbs Barbecue Memorial, I didn't see any that seemed like they were black people or black families that I knew of. And that made me think of something I saw. I don't know how true this is, but I saw there's an African guy has a podcast, and he's one of these. He's a kind of a shock jock, so to speak. Lays the shortcomings of African culture. I'm not talking about African American. I'm talking about Africa. Lays the shortcomings of that culture out real bluntly. This is the appeal of the show, I guess, for some. And one of the things that he was saying is that in African languages, there's often no concept of maintenance, the word maintenance. Which is why if you go to Africa today, some of these cities like South Africa, like Johannesburg or whatever, that used to be nice cities back even during apartheid, now that the apartheid system has shifted and whites are no longer in power, those cities have fallen apart. And I've seen memes where they show 1983 looks great. The same place in 2023 is just dilapidated. So I don't know if it's true or not. I'm a linguist, but I didn't study any African languages. But this guy, I think his name is Frank Zanu or something like that. I've never even really watched this show. I just noticed he said one of the thumbnails, he's saying there's no concept really in African language the various African languages, because there's hundreds of them. But he's not familiar with any of them that have a concept of maintenance, which makes me think about those bricks. Because those bricks, what that's saying is you took some of your money today and put it aside so that you could maintain a part of your cultural heritage for the future. And the fact that I didn't see any recognizable black family names over there, it was just like, makes one think. Maybe that's another reason that, black hip hop music, for example, doesn't seem to carry the respect. You tell somebody I'm a rap artist, a hip hop artist, and you're a grown man, is what my brother was saying. If you're a 50-year-old man saying you're a hip hop artist, people look at you like, really? Well, part of it may be the subject matter, but also is there something cultural in our culture as black people where we don't build and respect the arts in general, and we don't have that concept of maintenance where we realize we need to donate to things to ensure the longevity of our culture and our art. Could that be a thing? I don't know. I'm just spitballing here. I ain't talking bad about nobody. I'm thinking out loud, because I guess the bottom line is I agree with my brother. I'm a poet and a photographer and a videographer, and try to make some rap music when I was younger. We still do. Me and my brother still get together sometimes on the weekend and make a song. But the question is, why doesn't that seem to be as respected an undertaking as being a singer-songwriter, for example? Joy Harris, if you've seen her, everybody knows who Joy Harris is. But if you don't, she's a female bass player, African-American bass player here in Lubbock, Texas. Widely respected, world-traveled, world-respected, world-renowned. People respect her. So it's not like it's they don't like black people, or they don't respect it because black people are doing it. There's plenty of black people out there. I always bump my little thing here. There's plenty of black artists out there that garner plenty of respect. But then again, you notice that when I listen to Joy Harris's music, for example, it talks about that broad spectrum of human experience: love, pain, death, taxes, struggle. You know what I'm saying? I don't hear her talking about rolling on spinners. I'm going to show my age here. I don't even know what the kids talk about no more. But every time I listen to a rap song, it's all about drugs and nonsense and street life. That's probably one of the reasons nobody respects it, because it ain't nothing that the average person... In other words, people respect and hold on to stuff that they value, that helps them get through life, because it shows a reflection of life. And it shows art in general. To me, there's no reason to do any art. It doesn't feed you. It's not like you need art to breathe, but yet you do need art to breathe. So I've always thought that art is something divine. It's a gift. And when you do your art, whatever it is, photography, hip hop, rap, singer-songwriter, guitar player, whatever, in some way you should be respectful of that art form, because I think it comes from above. I think it comes from the divine realm. I think it's a gift from God, and is what I'm trying to tell you. But if you're making music about certain subjects and using certain language, it doesn't seem to fit. It don't work. You destroy the gift. You mangle and make the gift less valuable by using that kind of language and filming that kind of stuff and taking pictures of that kind of stuff. If you want it to last and have permanence, maybe we should do our art with an eye toward the divine. You ever seen what passes for art today? Y'all remember the banana on the wall? That was garbage. That was probably a money laundering scheme, by the way. Don't get me started on that. But that's how you get a tax write-off. Put a banana on the wall and charge $1 million for it. Now you got $1 million tax write-off, whoever bought that. That's the underside, the underbelly of art and music and stuff like that. I think that's probably what that was. I don't know for sure, but I'm just saying. I don't want to go there, because that's not really what I'm talking about. But you've seen that banana on the wall. You know that ain't art. You know that's a banana on the wall with some duct tape on it. How is that art? It ain't. Let's just say it. It ain't. Most of the music you hear is like, oh, it's disposable art. It's pop art. But it's not timeless. Is it? Because when things are timeless, they treat timeless subject matter that appeals to a broad spectrum of humanity in a way that reflects God. Maybe that's why hip hop doesn't have the respect or garner the respect that my brother was asking about. Why? Maybe that's why. Because it's, generally speaking, not done in a way that reflects God in it and that appeals to a broad section of humanity. Well, That's something to think about anyway. I want to urge y'all to look down here below in the show notes. I'm going to put all the links and stuff to this lecture series up at Texas Tech that's going to be going on about the life of Christopher Stubbs, a world famous barbecue connoisseur, a barbecue chef, as well as a musician and a patron for music right here in little old Lubbock on the South Plains. He was cold-blooded from what I understand. I wish I had a chance to know the man, maybe interview him right here in the studio. Unfortunately, those times have passed. That seems to be a theme lately. You got to seize the day. Carpe diem. Seize the time. Anyway, LBK, when you make your art, whenever you do that thing that you do, maybe if you want it to last and have permanence, try to do it in a way that pleases God and in a way that appeals to the broad spectrum of humanity. I know that's what we try to do here on the Focus LBK show. It's what we try to do on this publication with our pictures and the things that we focus on. So, maybe we need to try to remember that too when we do our stuff too. So anyway, thank you for tuning in this week to the Focus LBK show, and try to get out there to Texas Tech and see this lecture series, man. We're going to have a film in it, and I think it's just going to be worthwhile. It's going to show you a black man who did make a lasting impact. Well, with that, I'll sign off and say peace. Y'all take it easy.